Today we're going to talk about speaking and writing and look at three specific topics that appear in both. Now, before I start, if you're interested in my courses at affordable prices, then look at the links below because the details are there. So with the three topics, what we're going to do is looking at speaking part 2, and we'll compare a band 4 in speaking part 2 and a band 7 answer to the topic question. And then we'll do the same with writing task 2. And after that, we'll look at vocabulary for speaking and vocabulary for writing. Are they the same? Are there little differences? And while we do this, we'll try to use specific grammatical structures. For example, passive voice. The building was constructed recently. Relative clauses. The apartment, which had a balcony, was very peaceful. And some linking words, linking devices. Although it was small, it felt very cozy. And they all extend your sentences and they make them more formal. And we may look at certain other little grammatical structures like tend to and present perfect. All right, so our first topic today is the topic of crime that comes up quite often. Here, for example, is a speaking task 2 for crime. Describe a crime you heard about in the news. So you should say what the crime was, where it happened, what happened in the end, and explain how you felt about it. Now, often speaking task 2 asks you about your feelings about whatever you're talking about. Here's a part of a band 4 answer. I saw news last week. A man steal a car from a street. It was in London. Police tried to catch him. They run after him. He was bad man. I feel not good about this. I think crime is very bad and should not happen. So you should be able to see why this is a very basic answer. And just looking at it, we look at the grammar. So we've got past simple there. But then all of a sudden it seems to be present simple, though it's not correct. And they run after him, that's present. So you started in past and suddenly you're telling a story about the past, but suddenly you've gone to present. I feel not good about this. So this often tells you that there's a mix of past and present, that the student cannot control basic, simple grammar in their sentences. So if you begin by talking about last week and the whole story is about last week, then most of your story is going to be in the past in some form. This one's not, and that's very typical of a band 4 grammar. And then, of course, you look at the highlighted parts in yellow, which are the very basic words. We've got bad, not good, bad again, so it's repetitive and it's extremely basic. To be exact about that, if it's a spoken answer, it's highly likely that it's very limited in its flow, its fluency, because there are short, choppy sentences with very basic, if any, connecting or linking words. The lexical resource, that's vocabulary. Well, as I've said, it's very repetitive and very simple words which are so general you don't get any specific details from them. Grammatical range and accuracy, there are frequent tense errors and they're in very basic grammatical structures like past simple and present simple. And the pronunciation, if you talk in short, choppy sentences, you don't get the sound, the rhythm, and the stress as you should. Here's the band 7 answer, and there are lots of highlighted words and grammar. So let's read it, and you can immediately hear the better flow. So I recently watched a news report about a man who was arrested for car theft in central London. According to the police, he had stolen several vehicles over the past month and was finally caught after a high-speed chase. Fortunately, no one was hurt. I was quite shocked by how daring the crime was, but also impressed by how efficiently the police handled the situation. There's no short, choppy sentences, and we've used some of the grammar that we said at the beginning of the video. So, for example, a man who was arrested. There's a relative clause and passive together. He had stolen is actually past perfect, difficult to use. Was finally caught, again, passive. I was quite shocked. So instead of saying I feel, you say I was quite shocked. You make the feeling specific and you use passive. There are a lot of different grammatical structures here, some formal, some joining the sentences to make it flow and better English altogether. Of course, there's some good words and phrases: a news report, car theft, vehicles, and just instead of just saying cars, high speed chase, for example, and to handle the situation. So there's quite natural sounding words and phrases there also, and some very specific for crime. Therefore, let's look at some crime Band 7 vocabulary for speaking. High speed chase, law enforcement, to apprehend, that's a verb, to press charges, petty crime, and justice system. So these are some good words for crime, and you can pause the video later and look at the little example sentences alongside them. And what was good about the answer? Well, it would sound smoother and well-connected ideas. You can see that already. And so if you say this, but without pausing, this is a good 7. More specifically, the vocabulary, wide range, topic-specific words and phrases. The grammar, good control over complex structures, like passives and relative clauses in particular. And so we guess at the pronunciation, but you would think it's highly likely to be clear with some rhythm because the sentences are not choppy, they flow. So unless there's lots of hesitation, for example, you would expect it to flow quite smoothly. Moving to crime writing task 2, here's one of their questions. Some people believe that the best way to reduce crime is to give longer prison sentences. Others believe there are better ways to reduce crime. Discuss both views, give your opinion. This is a very standard, typical question in crime topic in writing task 2. Let's look at a band 4 possible answer. Some people, so this is not a good way to start a sentence if you want a high mark. Some people say longer prison is good because criminals scare and not do again. Others think it's not work and we must teach them good things. I think prison is important, but also teaching. Crime is bad and must stop. People must learn rules. So again, the sentences are quite short. Vocabulary is quite basic. There are basic mistakes with tenses also. And you just about get a general picture of what they think, but it's not very clear and certainly not specific. So the task response, the ideas are undeveloped or underdeveloped and they're vague. So again, it's very general, not very clear, no specifics. Cohesion, right. So that's limited use of cohesive devices means limited amount of linking words to stick these sentences together and ideas together also. Lexical resource, that's vocabulary, very basic, and some of the basic words are repeated, so it suggests real limitations in vocabulary. In the grammar, as we said, there's basic tense errors, there's missing articles, and basically poor control overall, so that wouldn't even get a 5. Possible band 7 writing answer. As you see immediately, it's much more substantial, much bigger. And scattered throughout are good words and good grammar. Now, you don't need everything in this image to be blue color or gray color. You just need to spread some good grammar and vocabulary around. I will not read the whole thing, but I will point out some grammar and vocabulary. So it begins very well. Instead of beginning by saying some people, it starts with, it is often argued. It's formal sounding and it's passive. Instead of saying because, it says the word as. So a student is showing that they know other words for the basic word because. And lots of nice words are in there. Deters, root causes of, content, poverty, sustainable solution. As you go through it, there's lots of nice words. Some are repeated a little bit, so you're not going to get an 8 or 9. but some good words all the way through, and some topic vocabulary. Also, strict sentencing laws, of course, that's a good one. And at the bottom there, you can also see which is a relative clause, and also it's well organized paragraph. So it states something, it explains, and then it clearly is giving an example toward the end. And then it would have another paragraph that would be similar. It would show you the other point of view, perhaps. And then you see again some good words. Some are repeated. So maybe that limits it from being higher than a 7, but they're strong words and phrases. Contend, root causes of crime. You've got that as a relative clause. Rehabilitation programs, good words. Have led, so that's a present perfect. Reoffending rates, good topic specific. So it goes on like this. So lots of things for an examiner to see and give marks for. Much better and much easier to understand. And because of the vocabulary, it's also specific about what the person thinks. So for writing band 7, here are some nice words. Some of them can also be used in speaking. The first one, deterrent, which is a noun. Incarceration, so that's being put in prison. If you're incarcerated, you've been put in prison to offend again. Rehabilitation, that's where there's a system that doesn't punish you, it tries to make you better. And the root causes of crime. What are the beginnings, the real origins of crime? Nice words. You can pause the video, look at these example sentences. And again, grammar for writing. Criminals are often sent to prison for long periods. Passive's essential for formal writing. Conditionals are there. If offenders are rehabilitated, they're less likely to commit crimes again. Complex sentences. While some argue for longer sentences, others suggest prevention is key. So beginning with while, joining two clauses. And of course, relative clauses. Individuals who commit serious crime. So they're all good grammatical structures to mix together. The task response, it was fully developed with an argument and an opinion clearly presented. Coherence and cohesion, logical structure, it has the making a statement, explaining in an example, and then you varied some linking words in there. Lexical resource, variety of formal and topic vocabulary. And the grammar, as we've looked at, quite flexible and accurate use of these structures. Again, just to summarize for crime, here are some words that could be different in speaking and writing. So the concept being a criminal act, in speaking you could say to steal, a thief, break in, a little informal words, but writing vocabulary would try to be more formal. They would say words like offense, criminal, or activity. Authorities, you could say in speaking police, catch and arrest. In writing, you try to be more formal, try to use words like law enforcement, justice system. Punishment, well, in speaking, you would say prison, go to jail. But in writing, you're going to go for that word incarceration and sentencing. Good words. And for solutions, speaking may say catch criminals, teach lessons, writing rehabilitation, deterrent, and prevention. So the formal words in writing are also mostly okay for speaking, but speaking you can be more natural and informal, and that's important difference to remember when you're answering. You don't have to always be formal in speaking. There are other ways to get marks. Second topic, it's a house or apartment. We're thinking about speaking part 2, where you have to talk for 2 minutes about this one place. Here's a typical question. Describe a house or apartment you have lived in or would like to live in. You should say where it is, what's it like, why you lived there or would like to live there. So that's suggesting a little bit of the future, would like to live there. And explain, of course, how you felt about living there if you did. So we've got grammar and vocabulary to look at in this house or apartment band 4 speaking answer. And again, highlighted are words like big, like, good, better. They've got a joining word in there, because, very basic one. Let me read it and you'll hear the sound of it. I live in a house. It is big and have many room. It near school. I like it because I can walk school. My room is good. House is better than apartment. These sentences are very short and choppy. They don't flow. So it's likely when you speak, there's not going to be strong fluency here because you're stopping too often. Vocabulary, you can see the words for yourself. And of course, grammar is basic with errors. Fluency and coherence, it's likely to be simple and disjointed, and it lacks development, as you can see. Lexical resource, as we said, repetitive and basic. So we don't want words like good, big, or better in speaking or writing, really. Grammatical range and accuracy. Well, there are mistakes or errors in subject verb agreement, have instead of has, prepositions, missing articles, and usually there's mistakes in tenses. The key in part two is, can a student, if they're telling a story in the past, avoid using the present, or do they flip unnecessarily back and forth between past and present? And we can only guess what the pronunciation was like. I don't think it will be wonderful, so it's likely to lack that rhythm and stress because it stops too often with these short sentences. Let's look at a band 7, and you can immediately see the sentences are longer, and if you quickly look, you see different kinds of grammar, accurate or not, and probably accurate. A place I would really like to live in is a small cottage-style house in the countryside, ideally somewhere on the outskirts of a quiet village. I've always dreamed of living in a detached house with a garden, lots of greenery, and a bit of distance from the noise and stress of city life. So already you see longer sentences, you see a variety of grammar. Would really like to is in there. I've always dreamed of a good expression to remember and use because it's present perfect and it could be usable in many different situations. The house I have in mind would have 2 floors, wooden floors throughout, and large windows to let in plenty of natural light. I'd love a cozy living room with a fireplace and maybe even a small study where I could read or work in peace. It wouldn't need to be luxurious, just comfortable and well designed. So flowing sentences, different grammar, more specific vocabulary, which means I get more exact picture of what you're talking about. Here's some more. Nice long answer, but just check the different kind of grammar. You see in the last paragraph you have an if sentence also, so you're varying the grammar throughout with specific vocabulary. Talking of which, here's some nice words to look at, and pause the video to look at the example sentences. Spacious is an adjective. Natural light to describe a room and the light in the room of your house or apartment. Centrally located, telling someone where it exactly is. Modern building, residential area. Instead of an area for houses, you say residential area. And cozy. Good band 7 speaking qualities would be fluency and coherence, where you speak at length, but it's easy, it's not difficult for you to do, and you use a range of linking words and connecting words for ideas and sentences. Lexical resource, wide range of descriptive words, and it's specifically useful in part 2 of the test, and topic specific vocabulary. We've looked at the grammar we were going to use today, and it's lots of it there. Passive, relative clauses, maybe some conditionals. And so we guess the pronunciation here is likely to be clear with better rhythm and stress. However, perhaps they hesitate too much and that would destroy it. We just guess here. Writing task 2 on the same topic. Some people prefer to live in a house while others feel there are more advantages to living in an apartment. Discuss both views. Give your opinion. So here comes a band 4. House is good because it have big space. People can have garden and play. Apartment is not good because small. Many people like house because they can park car. Apartment not have this. I like house more. So by now you should be able to see the basic kind of words, and the short sentences, how they don't flow, etc., the basic grammar, and the usual mistakes of a Band 4. Just to point them out again, Band 4, a limited development of ideas, so it makes a lot of brief statements, no clear opinion, no examples, etc., no explanation really, and that's usually a Band 4. Coherence and cohesion, there's no paragraphing, it's one lump, and there's nothing logical about the argument or the discussion. It doesn't flow from one point to another. Lexical resource, the words, repetitive, basic, as we've seen. Grammar, lots of errors, particularly in basic tenses and subject, verb, etc. Band 7, body paragraph 1 would say houses are possibly better. And we'll arrange it this time in a nice structure, the C structure, where you make the statement, you give an explanation, and then we'll point out the example. So, statement: living in a house provides greater space, more privacy, and often access to outdoor areas such as gardens. One long sentence, not too long, some nice specific words, and it flows. So now I expect an explanation. These features are especially important for families as, not because, they allow children to play freely and give adults a sense of peace and independence from neighbours. I'm getting the picture, so now I want just a final example would be good. For instance, in suburban areas, many houses include a private garden or driveway, which creates a more relaxed lifestyle compared to high-rise apartments. So the getting specific words with a specific picture you're painting in the examiner's head. So that's just one paragraph, very easy to follow and quite specific. Next paragraph, statement. On the other hand, some people believe apartments are more practical, especially in modern urban settings. So that means that you're going to now make this clear. Explanation: apartments are usually located in city centres, making commuting to work easier and providing access to amenities such as shops, restaurants, entertainment venues, and additionally, they tend to be more affordable and easier to maintain. So as you see, all these specific words coming in to give more detail, that shows more flexible control of language. And then we follow it with a little example. For example, young professionals often choose apartments in city centres because they can walk to the office and avoid the cost of owning a car. Being even more specific so that I completely understand your statement. Good vocabulary, the grammar is what we were going to use mostly, so that's good. Here's some words you might see in writing for vocabulary. Here we go. So, personal space, outdoor areas, city centre, an easy one, affordable and low maintenance. Some nice adjectives at the end there. Pause the video, look at the example sentences. Very good words if you're going to write. And as we said, the grammar is mostly what we said we're going to use. We did have some comparatives, conditionals, passive, and of course, relative clauses and occasional nice joining linking word. Therefore, band 7 or so, around about that, depends on the examiner. Task response, both views discussed with clear opinion, and then explanation and examples. Coherence and cohesion, well structured in that C structure and with good linking devices. Lexical resource, a range of precise and topic related scattered throughout. Grammatical range and accuracy, well, most of the grammar was correct actually, and used different range of sentences. So the speaking vocabulary might be slightly different from writing because, as I said, more informal. So in talking about size, speaking may say big, spacious, or cozy, but I would say don't say big because that's limited. Writing would also say spacious, large, generous, living area is better. Style, well, speaking, nice, modern, lovely, tastefully decorated, well designed in writing. And I would suggest the writing words are usable in speaking. Location, could say speaking, near school, city centre, And in writing, you would say centrally located urban area. And again, usable in speaking, I would say. And preference, I like house more. That's what the person said in the band four. What was the writing vocabulary? I prefer houses for the privacy. So again, they say they like something, but they say why. Be more specific. Last topic is fashion. Part two question. Describe someone who has good sense of fashion. You should say who this person is. You could describe them. What kind of clothes they like to wear. You describe them. How you know them and explain why you think they have a good sense of fashion. All right, so band four speaking answer possible. Can you guess what it's going to look like by now? I have a friend, she wear nice clothes, she like red colour and buy many dress. She always look good. I think she go to shop every week. Her clothes is good. So this is what we've seen in the previous band four answers. So is this you or are you much better than this? So why is it band four? Fluency and coherence, again, short, undeveloped answers with poor flow because they're not stuck together, they're just choppy sentences. Lexical resource, very basic, repetitive, nice, good fashion. Grammatical range and accuracy, well, again, subject verb, that means things like he have, he has, and she wear, and tense errors, missing articles, etc. And so you would guess that this pronunciation would not have the rhythm and stress because the sentences are all being short. For a band seven, my friend Anna has an excellent sense of fashion. She tends to wear elegant and modern clothes that suit her body shape and personality. Whether it's a casual, outgoing, or formal event, she always dresses appropriately and stylishly. I admire her because she doesn't just follow trends blindly. She selects pieces that reflect her taste and make her feel confident. So again, nice, long, flowing sentences, not too long, with lots of very specific words. And one idea follows the other. They're not just ideas that pop out of your head. You explain in detail about the friend Anna. So some nice vocabulary for band seven, and you would say words like stylish, adjective, fashionable, of course, but remember to put the correct ending on it and not just say they are fashion, they are fashionable. A sense of style, on trend, to be on trend. So her outfits are always on trend. Wardrobe, her wardrobe is full of designer pieces. And to mix and match, as you take different kinds of colors of clothes and mix and match them together. The grammar, well, it used passive voice, some relative clauses again, conditionals, and some linking words. It should be predictable for you what's going to make a four and what's going to make a seven. So, in the speaking qualities they're looking for, and they would probably get it from this answer, they're looking for extended, logically connected speech. So on paper it is, and if you don't hesitate, it's going to sound good. Lexical resource, variety of topic specific expressions. If you're talking about fashion and you have some good words for it, please use them. And the grammatical range and accuracy, complex structures, few errors, and a mix. Pronunciation, if you were going to speak this answer for a seven, you would probably be clear with good stress, rhythm and stress, and intonation. Over to fashion and writing task two. Typical question. Some people believe it's important to dress well. Others think people should be judged by their actions rather than their appearance. Discuss both views, give your opinion. Band four, again, can you guess before I show you band four what's going to be the problem? Some people think wear good clothes is important because it shows respect. Others think people is more important for what they do. I think good clothes is good, but not most important. People need to look nice, but also do a good thing. I like people who wear nice, but is kind. So how often does this person use the word good, for example, important, etc.? basic words repeated. What about the grammar? Is it the same as before? Simplistic treatment of the views. So this is important also. You can write good grammar, but if your point is very basic and too simple and does not look under the surface, then it suggests that perhaps you don't have the words to do this. So band 4 cannot do this. So simplistic treatment of both views lacks examples. We don't see the logical flow of example after explanation. Unclear organization, as I said, poor paragraphing, if there was any. Lexical resource, limited range, overuse of basic words. Grammar, frequent errors in very basic things, as we've talked about, articles, verbs, forms, etc. So we don't want that. We look at Band 7 writing, more like it. And then we have different paragraphs. Body paragraph 1 may argue that dressing well is important. Let's organize it logically with the statement, explanation, and example. Some people believe that dressing well is important because it reflects professionalism and self-respect. So you're going to talk about this, you're going to explain it now, and then give an example. So the explanation: in many social and professional situations, appearance creates a first impression, and individuals who dress neatly are often perceived as more competent, and trustworthy. Give me an example. For example, job applicants who wear formal and clean clothing to interviews are generally taken more seriously than those who appear untidy. So you can see relative clauses throughout, passive and other grammar here. Body paragraph 2, they're going to talk about this statement. So on the other hand, or many believe that people should be judged by their actions and character rather than their appearance. Please explain. Good clothes do not necessarily indicate a good heart or strong moral values, and prioritizing fashion can lead to shallow or biased judgments. Look at the specific vocabulary here. Give me an example. For instance, a nurse in plain, practical clothing who works tirelessly to care for patients may be far more admirable than someone dressed in luxury brands but lacking compassion. So not only does this give an example and use different grammar like who, relative clause, may be, and we've got modals, etc., but it also is one sentence. Nice, one long flowing sentence. So vocabulary possibly to be used in writing. To talk about fashion, well, first impressions. Dressing well helps create strong first impressions. Superficial judgment. So very surface level judgment. We don't look beneath the surface. Moral character. So actions reveal someone's real moral character. Some people can speak, some people can dress well, but what are they like underneath this? Are they real? Are they honest or are they dishonest? Professional appearance and substance over style. So you have to, style can just be superficial appearance. Is there anything more? That would be substance. Compare a little bit the speaking and the writing. So for looking good, you can say stylish and fashionable. You could write professional appearance, on trend. Personality and dress, well, you could say sense of style, mix and match. In writing, you could say individual expression, self-presentation. And judging people, well, in speaking, you may say look good, follow trends. But in writing, you would say superficial judgment and moral character. And the writing sounds deeper when you make it formal like this also. So these were 3 topics, and we looked at speaking part 2, and we compared band 4 versus band 7. We did the same for writing task 2. And then we looked at some possible comparison between vocabulary in speaking and writing. Sometimes they can be used for both, but remember, speaking's always a little bit more informal, so there can be differences. Okay, so now it's your turn. I'll leave you with a little task to do, and if you do it, please leave it in the comments below. So choose one of the topics from today. So that was crime, housing, and fashion. And you can prepare a spoken answer first and then change that spoken answer into a nicely written paragraph. The C structure with the statement, explanation, and example using the ideas and vocabulary and grammar from today's video. As usual, if you like this video, please click like below and subscribe. And if you're interested in any of my courses, the links are below and you can click on them and have a look. Okay, so until the next time, I'll see you then.